I never expected the moment my life changed forever to begin with the sound of someone pounding on my office door, right when a six-digit number glowing on my laptop screen nearly stopped my heart. If I had known what that number would unleash, the lies, the begging, the threats, the forged documents, maybe I wouldn't have opened that door at all. Before I tell you the rest, let me quickly say this. Wherever you are watching from, I hope you're having a warm, peaceful, gentle Christmas. May you be surrounded by the people who truly love you, not the ones who only remember you when they need something. Now, let me take you back to the day everything cracked open. My name is Madeline Crow. I'm 31, a risk analyst in Portland, Oregon. Someone who trusts spreadsheets more than promises and data more than people, especially my family. Growing up, my parents acted as if my older sister, Brielle, hung the moon and I was just occupying space. She got praise, gifts, attention. I got responsibility. But even a woman like me can have one tiny, irrational habit. Every Friday for 7 years, on my way home from work, I bought a $10 lottery ticket. Not because I believed in miracles, but because I wanted to believe that something good, just once, might land on my side of the scale. And then it did. $610,000. I stared at the confirmation email so long I felt dizzy. I wasn't naive. I knew exactly what would happen if my family found out. So the first thing I did, before celebrating, before telling anyone, was call a lawyer. By Monday morning, my winnings were placed inside an anonymous trust, layered with an LLC, tucked behind more legal insulation than my parents could ever unravel. For the first time in my life, I had something that was entirely mine. I thought that meant I was safe. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, I was in a virtual meeting with my financial advisor going over long-term investment options, debt payoff, real estate, retirement projections, the kind of quiet, responsible planning that makes my heart feel steady. Then my office door flew open so hard the hinge rattled. "Madeline, I need you. Please, you have to help me." Brielle stumbled inside, mascara streaking down her cheeks, clutching her phone as if it were a life raft. "Brielle, what's going on? I'm in a meeting." "It's Sean," she choked out. He lost everything, all our savings. He said it was some tech investment, but now they're saying it was fraud, or maybe he misunderstood. I don't know. And now people are threatening to sue us and, Madeline, I don't know what to do." Before I could respond, she looked at my laptop and froze. On the shared screen, glowing bold and undeniable, was my portfolio summary. The trust, the LLC, and the number at the bottom, $610,000. Her breath hitched, her crying stopped like someone had flipped a switch. She stepped closer, wiping her face, her voice suddenly steadier. "Madeline, is that yours?" I tried to close the screen, but it was too late. "You won? You actually won that money?" Her eyes sharpened, not desperate anymore, but calculating. "Why didn't you tell us?" "Because it's personal," I said carefully, "and because I knew exactly how this would go." "That's not fair," she snapped. "My husband and I are drowning, Madeline. You could help. Why wouldn't you want to help your own family?" Something inside me clenched. I'd heard that sentence my entire childhood, used like a weapon. Be useful. Be convenient. Be quiet. "Brielle," I said slowly, "I'm sorry for what you're dealing with, but this isn't the solution." She stared at me with a look I will never forget. Half betrayal, half ownership. "You've always been selfish," she whispered. "Mom and Dad were right about you." And just like that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. My financial advisor blinked through the webcam. "Well," he said softly, "that escalated quickly." I exhaled, long and shaky. I didn't know it yet, but that moment, Brielle seeing that number, was the spark. The beginning of a firestorm. The start of a battle where my own family would demand I hand over half my win or walk away forever, and trust me, they would go far, far beyond demanding. I should have known the moment Brielle walked out of my office, the storm wouldn't stop with her. That same evening, barely an hour after she slammed my door, I began receiving calls. First Mom, then Dad, then Aunt Marianne, then my cousin Rebecca, who never contacts me unless she's selling scented candles. My phone lit up like a slot machine. "Madeline, honey," Mom whispered in the first voicemail, her tone syrupy but strained. "Your sister is going through a terrible crisis. We need you to step up for the family." Then Dad's voice followed, firm and rehearsed. "You're an adult now, Madeline. Adults help their families. Call us back." By 10 p.m., my inbox was full. By midnight, the messages were no longer soft. "You can't just hide behind your money," Mom snapped in the last voicemail. "You owe this family." Oh, that word again. As if my entire existence had been some loan they were waiting to collect. For the next 2 days, the pressure intensified. My parents called my work phone. They messaged my colleagues. They even contacted my landlord to check if I was all right. All of it orchestrated, all of it tightening around me like a net. After exactly 48 hours of nonstop pressure, Mom sent a final text. "Your father has made dinner reservations. We expect you there at 7. This is not optional." I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Optional or not, I knew I had to go. Not for them. For clarity. The restaurant was one of those dimly lit, overpriced Portland spots where every plate looked like an art project. When I arrived, my family sat at a round booth in the corner, arranged like they were preparing for an intervention. Dad didn't wait for small talk. "Madeline," he said, leaning forward, "we know you came into some money." My stomach dropped, though my face stayed still. He continued, folding his hands like a judge preparing a sentence. "Your sister is in a devastating financial crisis. Sean made some very foolish choices. And this family," he paused, as if speaking on behalf of a nation, "is falling apart. We need you to do the right thing." I swallowed. "And what exactly do you think the right thing is?" Mom gave a tight smile. "Split the money, half for you, half for Brielle. That's fair." Fair? What a strange word to use after a lifetime of imbalance. Dad didn't soften. $305,000. That's what she needs to get back on her feet. We're not asking, Madeline. This is a responsibility. I felt a slow heat rising in my chest. Not anger yet, just clarity. "Dad," I said calmly, "the trust can't just be emptied on a whim. And even if it could, I have plans, debts to pay, a future to build. I worked hard for everything I have." "You didn't work for that money," Mom snapped. "It was a lottery win, pure luck, and it came to you because God knew your family needed help." The audacity took my breath away. Brielle, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "If you cared about us at all, you wouldn't think twice. Families support each other, Madeline." I looked at her, really looked at her. Perfect hair, perfect nails, perfect certainty that I existed to cushion her mistakes. "This isn't support," I said softly. "This is coercion." Dad's expression hardened. "If you walk out of here without agreeing, don't expect this family to welcome you back. We will tell everyone exactly who you are. Selfish, cold, ungrateful." A chill went down my spine, not because of the threat, but because of how comfortable he was making it. And that was the moment something inside me unlocked. I reached for my purse, pulled out a 50 and laid it neatly on the table for the iced tea I'd barely touched. "I hear you," I said, standing. "And now you're going to hear me. I won't be giving you a cent. Not half, not a quarter, not anything." Mom gasped. Brielle's mouth fell open. Dad's face went red. I continued, steady and clear, the way I would present a report at work. "You don't get to bully me into saving you from your own choices. If walking away makes me free, then I accept the cost." Then I turned and walked out. No theatrics, no second thoughts. Just the quiet, sharp knowledge that tonight I had chosen myself. For the first time in my life. I didn't know then that my family wasn't finished, not even close. The night after I walked out of that restaurant, something inside me shifted. Not fear, not guilt, focus. For the first time in my life, I understood exactly what I needed to do. Protect myself from the very people who were supposed to protect me. By sunrise, I had activated every safeguard my attorney had helped me prepare months earlier. Precautions I once thought were excessive. Now they felt like oxygen. My credit was frozen. My phone number deleted. My address erased from public databases. And every call, text, or email from my family was rerouted directly to my lawyer's office, like toxic waste going into a containment facility. I moved into a small apartment near the river in northwest Portland. Clean, quiet, anonymous. When I closed the door that first night, the silence felt like a sanctuary, but the peace didn't last long, because my family didn't back down. They escalated. It began with emails dripping with guilt. "You're tearing this family apart. You're letting us drown. You don't deserve that money if you won't share it. Then came the threats. We will take legal action. We will tell everyone what you've done. You can't hide forever. They messaged neighbors, distant relatives, even my old college roommate. My name became a rumor mill they controlled, a narrative of selfishness, cruelty, betrayal. But nothing prepared me for what came next. One afternoon, my attorney, Ms. Kaplan, called with a tone I had only heard once when she told me never to answer another call from my family again. "Madeline," she said, "we have a serious problem. Your parents attempted to open a $22,000 loan in your name." I felt the blood drain from my face. What? They used a forged signature and presented it to a notary at a strip mall legal service in Gresham. The loan company flagged the application because your credit is frozen. My hands were shaking. A forged loan? In my name? There's more, she continued. The notary reported unusual behavior, so the company pulled the security footage. I could hear her typing, flipping papers. The footage shows your father handing over a document, the notary asking why the signature doesn't match the ID, and your mother insisting, just process it, she's traveling. My chest tightened. My parents, my own parents. They committed fraud, I whispered. Felony fraud, Ms. Kaplan corrected gently. And because they used your personal information, it also qualifies as attempted identity theft. I sank into a chair, staring at the blank wall of my apartment, the world tilting around me. I had braced myself for manipulation, anger, guilt-tripping. But not crime. Not deliberate, calculated crime. As if the universe wanted to twist the knife just a little more, Ms. Kaplan added, and we finally got clarity on Sean's situation. There is no investment lawsuit, no business dispute. He lost their savings gambling, casinos, high stakes. I pictured Brielle sobbing in my office, believing the story her husband fed her. The desperation in her voice, the switch in her eyes when she saw my account balance. The lies piling on lies. Your sister doesn't know, Ms. Kaplan said. Not yet. I rubbed my forehead, feeling sorrow and fury in equal measure. So everyone has been lying to everyone. Yes, she said softly. Except you. The next morning, I found envelopes shoved under my old apartment door, messages clearly delivered by my parents before I moved. They must have tried to catch me, not realizing I had already vanished. I opened one, just one. It read, "If you had just given us the money, none of this would have been necessary. As if forging my name on a loan was a reasonable consequence of my refusal to hand over hundreds of thousands of dollars. For the first time, I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I didn't question my worth. I felt something new. Resolve. They had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed, and now I knew exactly what needed to happen next. Because the truth was no longer just on my side. I had proof, I had the footage, I had the law, and soon my family would learn that I wasn't the one falling apart. They were. The mandatory mediation was scheduled for a gray Tuesday morning in Lake Oswego, inside a glass-walled law office overlooking the water. The kind of place designed to make conflict feel civilized. But there was nothing civilized about what was coming. When I walked into the conference room, my parents were already there. Gregory sat with his arms crossed, jaw clenched, radiating authority he no longer had. Helen sat beside him, clutching a stack of photos like a stage prop. The air felt thick, like everyone was breathing through the same strained memory. The mediator pressed a button and the recorder clicked on. All discussions today will be documented per state regulation, he announced. My father sighed with exaggerated exhaustion. Madeline, why are we even here? You know what we need. Your sister is suffering. We are suffering. All of this is unnecessary. My mother leaned forward, sliding the photos across the table. These are Brielle's children, she said softly, as if I didn't already know the faces of my niece and nephew. They're scared. They're asking why their aunt abandoned them. I looked at the photos for exactly 2 seconds before pushing them gently back. I didn't abandon anyone, I said quietly. I'm protecting myself from being exploited. That's not the same thing. Gregory let out a sharp laugh. Exploited? We are your family. And yet you filed a fraudulent loan application in my name. Both of them stiffened. The mediator glanced up. Let's allow each side to speak, but Dad cut him off. We wouldn't have had to resort to anything if you had just helped us. You forced our hand. Forced! Their favorite justification. My lawyer, Ms. Kaplan, set a folder on the table with deliberate precision. "Before we continue," she said, "I need to introduce evidence relevant to the matter." She opened the folder and slid out several still images pulled from video footage. My parents' faces drained of color. "These," she continued, "are frames from the notary's security camera. They conclusively show Mr. Gregory Crow and Mrs. Helen Crow submitting a forged signature on behalf of my client. This constitutes attempted fraud, attempted identity theft, and a violation of Oregon state law." My mother's hand flew to her chest. "We didn't know." "You knew," Ms. Kaplan said, her voice calm but unyielding. "The notary questioned you. The footage captures that exchange in full." My father's mask cracked for the first time. "You can't take this to court," he snapped. "It would destroy us." "And you were willing to destroy me," I said quietly. The room fell into a tight, suffocating silence. Then, as if summoned by the tension itself, the door slammed open. Sean stormed in, cheeks flushed, eyes wild. "Where is she?" he barked, spotting me instantly. He marched to the table and slammed his palm onto the wood. "You owe Brielle! You have the money! You fix this!" The mediator jumped. "Sir, you cannot be here." Sean ignored him entirely. "My family is drowning, and you're sitting on a pile of cash like some damn dragon." He leaned closer, voice dropping to a snarl. "You will pay off our debts." "No," I said simply. He slammed the table again. "You selfish!" "Enough!" The word came from Brielle, who hovered in the doorway, her face blotchy from crying. For the first time in years, she looked aware, awake, like the fog of lies swirling around her had finally thinned. "Sean," she whispered, "stop, please." She stepped inside, clutching her arms. "They showed me the footage, the loan, everything. Mom, Dad, how could you?" My mother began to sob. My father didn't speak. Sean just stared at Brielle like she had betrayed him by discovering the truth. Then Brielle looked at me. "I didn't know," she said, voice trembling. "I believed everything they told me. I believed Sean. I thought you were abandoning us. I'm so sorry." Something in me softened, not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding. The mediator slid a form toward her. "If you sign this," he said, "you acknowledge that you release all financial claims against your sister, now and in the future." Her hand shook as she picked up the pen. She looked at Sean, at her parents, at the wreckage around her. Then she signed. Just like that, the pressure that had been squeezing the oxygen out of my life for months loosened. My parents slumped back, defeated. Sean cursed under his breath and stormed out. And Brielle placed the pen down like it weighed 100 pounds. For the first time since this began, I breathed. Full, deep, unburdened. The truth had finally broken through their lies. And I walked out of that glass building knowing nothing they could do next would ever have power over me again. When the mediation finally ended, the air in the conference room felt different. Emptier, like a storm had passed and left only debris. Gregory and Helen signed the permanent no-contact agreement with stiff hands, refusing to look at me. They also initialed the clause requiring them to pay a penalty into the education fund I had created for Brielle's children, something they never imagined they'd be legally compelled to do. Watching them press their signatures down felt surreal. For months, they had been a force pressing in on all sides, demanding, threatening, tightening around me like a vice. And now, in the span of a few signatures, that grip dissolved. When I stepped outside the building, the cold Lake Oswego air hit my face like a baptism. I took a breath so deep it almost hurt. For the first time in years, maybe in my entire adult life, I felt like I wasn't being watched, judged, or controlled. It was like taking off a steel collar I didn't realize I had been wearing since childhood. Freedom didn't feel loud. It felt quiet, clean, solid. In the days that followed, my life didn't magically transform, but it steadied. My attorney helped me finalize the irrevocable trust, clarifying protections I hadn't fully understood until I watched my own parents try to steal from me. I passed my professional certification exam, something I'd studied for during the chaos, as if my future insisted on continuing even when my personal world was collapsing. 2 months later, my manager called me into her office, smiling in that way that carries news worth hearing. "We're promoting you," she said. "You've shown resilience most people never have to demonstrate." Resilience, a word I had earned the hard way. I moved into a small townhouse near the river. Nothing fancy, but mine. truly mine. I filled it slowly with quiet things: plants, books, blankets, a little breakfast table near the window with morning light. I built a life that didn't revolve around bracing for the next blow from people who claimed to love me. My relationship with Brielle didn't disappear, but it changed. She apologized again and again, not with excuses, but with accountability. She left Sean, started therapy, and tried rebuilding her life without leaning on me like a crutch. We weren't sisters the way TV families look, but we were honest, respectful, careful with each other. And that was enough. Months passed, seasons shifted, and one morning, as I sat with tea by the window, watching winter settle over Portland, I realized something profound. It wasn't the $610,000 that changed my life. It was learning that I had a right to protect myself, even from people with my blood in their veins. For the first time, my life felt like something I owned, not something I was surviving. And if you've listened to my story all the way here, then before I end it, let me tell you this. I hope your Christmas is peaceful, warm, and full of people who treat you with real kindness. Not the forced kind, not the conditional kind. The kind that doesn't demand you shrink yourself to fit someone else's expectations. Tell me, how are you spending your Christmas this year? Who are you celebrating with? I'd love to hear. And if this story resonated with you, if you've ever had to protect yourself from people who were supposed to love you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. There are so many more stories from other women waiting to be told. Stories of strength, survival, heartbreak, and rebirth. Thank you for listening to mine. Merry Christmas, wherever you are.